Hello. I hope that you had your snacks before coming here because I think we're gonna go over time a little bit. We'll be a little bit late for lunch, I think. Just to warn you already. Anyways, my name is John. I'm from the Semio Secretariat. I'm Deputy Director for Program and Development, and I will be your MC and your moderator for this session. So, welcome everyone to our panel session on decentralization of education, empowering local communities for sustainability as part of the third International Conference on Equity. The theme, Reimagining Education, Co-Creating Lifelong Learning for Youth and Adults. So today we delve into a crucial topic, very interesting, that highlights the transformative power of community-driven educational initiatives. Decentralization of education, as we know, does not only enhance local engagement but also promotes quality and equitable access for all learners, including both youth and adults. Our distinguished panelists from different organizations, from government sector, bring a wealth of practical experiences and innovative solutions that demonstrate how empowering local communities lead to a sustainable educational practices in different contexts, from India to Thailand to various parts of the globe. We aim to uncover strategies that empower local communities, enabling them to take ownership of their educational systems and create sustainable pathways for lifelong learning. So without further ado, I would like to invite our esteemed panelists to please join me here on stage. Ms. Reno Seth, co-lead for Girls and Women Program, Pratham Foundation. Please also welcome Ms. Diane Ligoff, Global Manager of the Youth Education and Entrepreneurship CSR Programs, Schneider Electric Foundation. Did I pronounce it right? And finally, we have Konsumsak Panyingtong, who is working with the Ministry of Education, with the Director of Drawing Inclusive Learning Academy. Shall we give them a round of applause, please? Okay, so this morning we will have three presentations. So we will begin with Ms. Reno. Ms. Reno is the lead. She is going to introduce herself properly, but just a few of the things. Reno is the lead for Girls and Women Programs at Pratham Education Foundation. Over 30 years of expertise in the development, formulation, and implementation of social sector programs with a focus on health and education. Earlier, you heard her speak about second chance for women, very strong on gender equality. This time, Ms. Reno is going to talk about including and enlisting support of mothers for early childhood education. And in her presentation, she's raising the questions on what is making the community, the mothers in particular, accountable, okay? And what does Pratham do to sustain the mother groups in order to support the education of their young children? So, Ms. Reno, you have 20 minutes for this presentation. Thank you. You can have the...
Good day to everyone. Very happy to be here. Yes, I am Renu, but today at this presentation, I wear another hat for early years program at Pratham. That is my favorite program, to be with the early years. I do like girls and women. I mean, I feel very strongly, but my favorite program is the early years program. So we talk about empowering. I mean, it's all important. We know so many people working on the sector for the year. No. And now we realize, what made us realize? COVID-19 made us realize that when the children could not come to the school, the center. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, once again, I'll introduce you quickly to Pratham. We start with children and learning. I mean, that is part of our program. We do youth and training as well, and we work with girls and women. So why are we empowering mothers? The COVID times told us and showed us that the importance of working with mothers or parents, because it was required when the children couldn't go to school. And that was the time we really needed to, connect with them. We also felt that they felt we don't know about this. We don't know about teaching and learning. But how we can do it through remote means, through messages was what we learned. The new model is such that the mothers play a role. Messages are passed. It's a bottom-up program. The point I wanted to make in the earlier slide is there is somebody called Smart Mother. Who will be the smart mother in this picture? The smart mother is the woman not because of any other smartness, but because she has a smartphone. Because she has a smartphone, and because her having a smartphone on hand can give the other ladies in her group the chance to get the message. So it empowers the community because, and it's made Hamlet-wise. So 4 or 5 mothers get together and they make a group. They may be living together and they make a group, and that's how they, they learn from each other. So that mother or that lady who has the cell phone for a longer time, mobile phone, gets the message which she can share with everybody. We see that this, we were talking about it, it's now 3 or 4 years of the program, and we will see in a later slide of the number of times the mother is ready to work and the percentage of time that she's giving every month. Mothers, we know, are caregivers. They are with the children. We are very happy that fathers also join, but we know for various reasons for earning that they are out. If there are fathers and fathers can also make such groups, we are very happy with that. Currently, in the situations where we are, the mother groups work. What's the purpose? The purpose is that she knows the purpose of having the mothers group is first to help her know what are the activities she can do, what is important, what doing with the children will help her child grow and gain her basics is the very, very basic. We'll watch a little video later. So Pratham believes that her having an environment, it's not the child that grows alone. The child goes to the daycare center about 100 or 200 meters from her house. The child meets teachers, meets the daycare teacher, meets different people. Everyone needs to know what is happening to help the child grow. And if our basics, our very early years are strong, maybe our children don't have to have the remedial in class 3 to 5. Maybe their basic skills are formed. That is an important part why we focus on early years. If the emergent literacy and all that is needed in these formative years happens, we hope, and probably we will see this in the coming 2-3 years, but this is what we strongly believe in. What are our enablers? How is this given? So the mothers group formed, they meet every week, they share what they have done and what is given to them. Very visual idea cards where just, in infographic form, they get activities of what to do, how to do. They get YouTube links where in local languages, we have them translated in about 11 languages, which includes Malayalam in Kerala down south and even Khasi in northeast India. So the importance, as we know, for mothers in the rural areas is that it has to be in the language that they understand. Only then they will value. Text messages go to the lead mother or the smart mother, as I said. And there's a low dependency on digital devices. Once she knows, it's fine. Now we will say, what is this? What is only giving the idea cards to them? How will it help? But the idea cards has an element of assessment too. She can make a worksheet. Either the child can do it if a device is available on the phone, or she can also do it on a, looking at the idea card on the message, she can do it on her book. So she is doing something, and which the parent or the Pratham person can assess. The Pratham person visits every week and meets every group, so to know how is it going, what extra support is needed, what challenges they feel, don't they feel the story is right. So there is an element of connection which over a period of time reduces. We have seen over the second year it reduces. The program has a sustainability part because it works alongside the infrastructure, education infrastructure. The school is there, class 1 and 2, and lower down daycare center. So you are not working in isolation where the mother does not meet the school teacher or the daycare center, which we call Anganwadi in India. So she meets the daycare. The daycare teacher also feels very enthused with what is happening. She's seeing more children come to her class, and generally there's a buy-in. So we feel that is how this becomes more sustainable. In school, in class 1 and 2, when children are normally quite lost, but they have support because their mother knows if they have got some homework or they've done something creative, then they show it to their mother, show it to their teacher, which we all know at that little age, someone to talk to them, someone to acknowledge what has been done, something to tell your mother home that, my teacher said this, does make a difference for the child's readiness or enthusiasm to go to school. It does make, I'm not saying it is, but it does make a difference. In 2024, this year, we have 20 plus states in India where mothers groups are made through Pratham's direct programs. When I say direct programs, it is when we are directly doing it with the community. In about 13 states, we are doing it with the government. So the government has accepted this as an important way to keep in touch with the community and to engage with mothers or parents as owners of their child's education, participation in child's education. That is how the parents, that is how the government is taking it. In Maharashtra, a state in western part of India where the famous Mumbai city is, there are, across the state, there are 2 lakh mother groups in just that state. It's a government partnership. And the governments, when they go to a school, it is a mandate for them to meet the mothers groups and, talk to them. So what's happening and what is your child learning? So you are seeing an interest from the government. You are seeing an interest build and sustaining in the community. And for us, the child is learning. That is the most important thing. So I'm sorry that the colors are not showing very well. So these are the different direct programs that Pratham has, and we have over 1 lakh of mothers as part of the groups, the last figure down there. I mean, I'm sure this would be available online, so please have a look at the numbers there. This is interesting where you see how it started in August and, towards March 23, 24, at least 86% of the mothers were part of the group meeting every week. That is interesting. That shows that they are taking part, they find their time, and it's flexible. It's not that a fixed time. Mostly it is when the children are away at school or they finish their household chores and then they sit and meet, but they fall into a pattern. Another interesting thing I'd like to tell you of how they are retained is that retained or their interest is sustained is giving them some courses. It could be on digital literacy. We all know that digital literacy has become for everyone, whether you're in rural part of your country or you're illiterate, you must know some things, because some information that the government is passing is coming through online means, and you know how to access it. We also know that even on phone there are cyber crimes. How do you not respond to certain phone calls? So those kind of things are also given to the mother. They are given information on first aid. So these are separate pieces. They do not go in the, what they are doing for their children, but time to time these activities are held, which makes them feel the knowledgeable person in their family, and that is how they like to participate in further. So we are not only looking at the children growing. We love children. We want them to grow well. We want them smiling. We want them healthy. And we know that this will happen when they are properly nurtured. And that is the importance why we are doing. But strengthening communities will let the mother do it for her daughter. She will continue going to school. She may not drop out. Same for her son. So these are important things that help the program be sustainable, and she will encourage more young mothers to do it with their children. The lower yellow box tells us about the different departments of education who are taking care and who have come forward to have partnerships where they reach every Anganwadi in the state, every daycare in the state, every class 1 and 2 in the schools run by the government in the state. That is an interesting thing. And mother groups are vital for in Pratham's early years strategy, because now we've come to realize that they are partners in the program. They have as much interest in the child or more than you have in the child growing. They possibly don't know how to do it. And that's what we would want to hold, and empowering them. And the interesting part is India is such a big country, spread north to south. You could say right from North India to South India, the mother's activity and the response is the same. It doesn't vary by geography. Yes, if there is the season of farming and something, you can find some intermittent timing where they are not available, but otherwise there's a very common participation and taken for these activities. Yeah, I'd like for the movie to just show you 1 minute clip of a mother speaking. Thank you.
हमें लगता था कि कॉपी, पेंसिल, पेन और चौक और स्लेट से पढ़ाई होती है, लेकिन जो प्रथम वाले हैं वो लोग साग, सब्जी, फल और घर के बर्तनों से पढ़ाई करवा रहे थे, जो भी बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग था। तो महिलाएं जो हैं जब फ्री होती हैं तो वो वैसे भी ग्रुप में बैठती हैं, लेकिन उस टाइम पे वो एक दूसरे के घर की बातें करती हैं। प्रथम जो है वो भी ग्रुप बनवा रहा है, लेकिन उसमें शिक्षा की बातें हो रही हैं। ये बहुत बड़ा बदलाव है।
Thank you, Reno, for that wonderful presentation. I think Reno touched on a very important topic on the role of mothers and parents, because fathers are also involved in supporting the education of the children, especially at the young age when they are at a very critical stage of physical and cognitive development, as well as emotional development. And I think what's important in what Reno mentioned is that she's working with government, state agencies as well, working within community structures, established structures within the community and within the state agencies as well. So that's something that's very interesting to all of us. Next, we move on to a global Foundation, Ms. Diane Legoff, is going to present to us what Schneider Electric Foundation is doing in order to advance and promote lifelong opportunities for youth and adults in the areas or countries where they are working in. Diane is an experienced manager in sourcing, structuring, managing development projects with multiple international public and private stakeholders. She's currently based in Vietnam as the global manager of this foundation. For the last 10 years, she has held several positions in sustainable development at this organization, being based in France, Senegal, and Vietnam, and has developed a strong expertise around Tibet development, ESG strategy definition, and implementation with a specific knowledge on social impact. Diane is going to showcase initiatives supported by the foundation across diverse global regions, exploring how their partnership models, gender focus, and adaptation for local needs and communities ensure that youth around the world receive training that empowers them to join the energy transition. Through this presentation, we're hoping to open conversations about how decentralizing education can help youth access training to build a sustainable future. Diane, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Sawadee kha. Hello, everyone. So as I was presented, my name is Diane. I'm the leader of what we call Youth Education and Entrepreneurship Program at Schneider Electric. And I'm going first just to share with you exactly what is our action about, and then I will deep dive in some case studies on how we are working with communities. So I don't know if you all know, but Schneider Electric is the global leader in energy management and industrial automation. And actually, we have always have had a big impact on empowering the youth to take part in the energy transition. To have a brief background of why we are investing in education, the group is originally from France, and in 1929 we realized in France actually that technical and vocational education was underinvested by the Ministry of Education, and that as a group in the private sector, obviously we knew the skills that were required and the opportunity as well, and that we needed to start investing. This is why the group created its own school in France that is still existing, a technical high school. And it is also why in 2009 we decided with the Schneider Electric Foundation to start the Youth Education and Entrepreneurship Program that would actually focus on investing in technical and vocational education in the energy sector in partnership with ministries, NGOs, and so on. So very briefly, we have two main activities around education. The first one, as I said, is to invest in technical and vocational education programs in order to bridge the skill gap in the energy sector and make sure the programs are less theoretical, and more practical for the youth, and that they can give access to employment. So as you know, primary education has been invested a lot. Now there is a focus on secondary, and we focus on secondary technical because it's really the bridge to employment for the youth. And then we have a second large program that is more related to the energy transition, because obviously we have to look also at students that are not necessarily in technical field, but students in general, and see how we can give them access to the knowledge in their country on the energy transition and encourage them to take part with innovation and entrepreneurship. And in everything that we do, we have a specific attention to gender, and we have specialized partnership to encourage more girls and women to take part in the energy transition. So how it works, and you will see in the case studies, we work in partnership. So we partner with NGOs in country, with ministries of education, with international agencies, with educational institutes to support the development of training programs from 3 months to 3 years. We have a specific attention to support access to the programs for students that are coming from the most underprivileged background. And we focus, as I said, more on a technical level. We do not work at engineer level. So this is a bit of our footprint, and you will see in the case studies that I tried to cover South America, Africa, and Asia, and I think there is a lot of learning to share. And basically, as of now, we have supported the training of more than 763,000 students globally, but we aim 1 million by the end of 25. We also support training of trainers, because trainers are essential in our program, and we also have programs supporting entrepreneurship and how to build the ecosystem to support entrepreneurs in the energy transition. So we operate in 60 countries, and we have more than 400 projects. I just want to say something very quickly about social impact strategy, because the conference today is about working with communities, and obviously we want to prove the social value of the program and the partnership we develop. This is why instead of asking our partners to do this social impact measurement by themselves, we have developed a methodology around qualitative and quantitative indicators. So basically a tool to help prove the social value of program and improve the quality of the program we support. So it's a global tool we have developed, but each time we have a new partnership, we adapt it with the partner locally with indicators that are relevant for the local reality. And I can just give a quick example. In the past, we were looking at employment as how many entrepreneurs, how many formal students are employed. But now, you know, we are more looking at diversification of revenue, because by working with our partners, and especially in communities, we realize we have to be more agile, and very often students, they are not necessarily going to formal employment, or they can be in formal employment but also have some informal work on the side. So we are trying to see with the training programs the whole range of revenue they can develop and how they can diversify their source of revenue. And another important part that I want to share, if we want to talk about just energy transition, obviously we have to look at girls and women and how we take part in the energy transition. Because if you look at the energy value chain today, unfortunately we are excluded at most of the step of this energy value chain. While when you look in communities, women are usually the first users of energy. So it's very important for us not to have quota or anything in program, but more like to work with specialized organizations such as Pradam, for example, in country, and to see what do we need to add to the training programs to make sure girls and women can join, and also after the program can find employment. So it's actually going to lead to my first case study. It's a program that we have developed in the Sahel region with an organization that is called Plan International. It was a call for proposal from the European Union, and in this region you have many women that are displaced due to climate change. There is also a lack of access to energy. So the consortium of partners, in order to respond to this, has built a comprehensive approach with first, how can we work in villages to talk about energy and how women can also work in the sector and break barriers and stereotypes. And this is really the role as, of Plan as a partner, to create awareness. And you have to work with the chief of the village and communities to have open talk. Second, we, the Schneider Electric Foundation has reinforced between Mali, Niger and Senegal 6 training centers to develop adapted training program in electricity and solar energy for the women, for them to be able to learn a technical profession, go back to their village and develop activities. Because one of the important points of the project is also to install microgrid to empower the women to develop economic activity. And so last but not least, there are a range of partners like Microfinance Institute to help them develop activities around the microgrid energy to work as technician or to develop any other activities. So with this program, what I want to show is that when you work with communities, you need a wide range of stakeholders that are able to build the right programs for the reality of the community. Here, for example, if I take here, we have pictures of women in Senegal, in Kaolack. They speak Wolof, you know. So for us, we can bring the expertise in terms of training program, what is relevant in solar energy. But we need to translate everything, and we need to reinforce trainers that are very crucial to go train the women, but also help and support them in the long term in their communities when they are back in their village. So this was a 5 years partnership, because obviously to reach this impact, you need long-term partnership. You cannot see short-term for this kind of training. The second program I want to share is in Indonesia, so closer to here, and I want to talk about public and private partnership. When you look at education, obviously, you have to look at the public sector. This is the responsibility of the Ministry of Education. As a private company, we can develop this kind of public and private partnership with the Ministry of Education that has the understanding also and the infrastructure in terms of training in the country to make sure we can reinforce together what is strategic for the country. Here in Indonesia, it was around renewable energy, because as you know, there are many islands and solar energy is very important, but also industrial automation, because industrialization is very high in many cities. So we needed to reinforce the sector for the young people to find jobs. And finally, residential electricity. Obviously, you know, Jakarta is a very big city. There are many large cities, so there are a need for electrician in the country. So together with the Ministry of Education from Indonesia, but also France, that has sent a technical expert to build program, we have reinforced 144 training centers in the country to reach maximum of people. So we have supported the training of more than 30,000 young people in Indonesia. And this is a very good example of public-private partnership and how we can respond to the need to all of the communities, and it is only possible with the Ministry of Education. The next one is Brazil. So a bit like Indonesia, obviously in Brazil, the youth is a very large part of the demographic. And it's very hard to reach a lot of training centers. The infrastructure is good in Brazil, actually. So this model is interesting because it's based on training of trainers. Obviously, we have to adapt programs to learners, as we did in Senegal, Mali, Niger. But trainers, they're essential in our program. They need to understand the technology. We need to make sure they have competencies up to date. We need to co-build program with them and activities. And in Brazil, it's what we did in the state of São Paulo. We have supported for now 35 centers, more are coming, and 160 trainers to build training activities that are very practical around residential electricity, industrial electricity, solar energy, depending on the place. And they are reusing this activity with technical students, but also students that are in general careers, because even then, you know, we have to encourage their exposure to STEM and encourage them in the future to take part in the energy transition. So what I want to highlight is the cornerstone of this program are really the trainers, and it's essential that it's our first focus, because at the end of the day, on the long term, they are the one in the training centers that are going to share about their knowledge, competencies. So it's very important to co-build program with them and make sure that they have exposure to technology and industry in order to train well the students and make sure they will be able to enter the industry in the future. And this slide is very interesting when we talk about remote communities. You have 3 examples of what you can do to reach maximum of person. The first one is actually a training boat with SENAI, so it's the entity in charge of technical and vocational education in Brazil, because we wanted to reach most communities in Amazonia, which is very difficult. So in this boat, we go to train over 4 months, usually 120 hours, communities, especially on solar energy, as you can see with this man that is installing a solar panel. And we use the boat to go from one place to another to train maximum of people. And we had to be inventive, because otherwise we cannot reach the people in Amazonia, and they also need the skills in electricity. The second case, it's actually Industry 4.0 bench, so it's a very advanced subject. and we have developed it for Peru and Colombia. Industrialization is very high. There is a need for the youth to understand about IoT. Unfortunately, the subject is very costly to develop. So we had a team of experts that has developed this bench that is a bench in a suitcase. So this bench can go from training center to train maximum people, and it reduced the investment. So it was specially designed, and we developed this kind of a solution to make sure that we can bring really like the latest technologies to everyone everywhere. And the last example is from Argentina, and it's actually the reuse of a container in order to have mobile classroom. So we are developing a similar container in the north of Argentina, in Salta actually. And this mobile classroom is going to go from one city to another in order to train as well students on different subjects such as PLC, robotics, and so on. So it's another innovative model to bring education to everyone, and not just the people that are able to go to the training centers. And it leads me to the other example, which is digital learning. I think we talked about it, but especially after COVID, it was a big challenge, because we couldn't reach the students due to the COVID situation. And at the same time, in the energy sector, it's very difficult because you want to bring digital learning, but it has to be very practical, again. So we have developed e-learnings, but also immersive learning by using augmented reality to train students and online, but also to give access to anyone that is in the energy sector the opportunity to get, certificate and up-to-date knowledge. We have also developed a path around energy transition, in order to highlight what are the opportunities for everyone, what are the challenges around energy transition, what kind of project they can develop. So these classes are free. They are online for anyone, and they are very interactive. And we use them, like here, in partnership with UNHCR and NGOs in Bangladesh, for example, in Cox's Bazar. So Cox's Bazar, I don't know if you know, it's the largest refugee camp globally, unfortunately. And people in refugee camp spend on average 17 years. So if they do not have access to education, imagine the challenge. And as well, in Cox's Bazar, one of the issues is that who can maintain the energy infrastructure? And also, there are a lot of decentralized solutions like solar lamp, who can make repairments, treat this waste in the camps. So we have developed a training center that is called Green Innovation Hub to train trainers and to train refugees on electricity, delivering certificates. For them also to be able to work inside the camp, because in Bangladesh they cannot work outside. There are some camps where it's possible that refugees go outside and work, but here not. But there is a lot to do. And we use technologies such as, you have a picture, it's actually a bench that we have represented in augmented reality, where the students, even if the technology is not there, can do practical exercise. And we also have developed programs for women to be trained in the camp, as you can see in the first picture. And we have developed trainers that are only women as well, because it's easier to replicate the training program. And this program as well deliver a certificate. And why certificates are very important? I will take the example of India, one of the first countries where we have started program. When you look at communities, and especially you look at peri-urban or rural area, not all students are able to spend 2-3 years in a diploma. So you need to develop practical certificate leading to easy and quick access to employment. So we have developed a model, like it's 3 to 4 months training program in India with an NGO called Art of Living. And we have equipped training centers for students, for 54 training centers. Students can have easy and quick access to these training certificates, and they have a lot of exposure to the latest industry technology, and they can easily find jobs. Maybe in the future, they will continue and go back to school, but most of them, they will not stay 1, 2, or 3 years in a diploma. And we also have developed these training centers in prisons, because this is another population where, unfortunately, if they do not have access to education, it will be very hard after, to go back to society and be economically empowered. So we are trying really to look at all communities and develop training programs that are adapted for everyone. And the last example I want to share today, it's in the Philippines. It's a bit of a mix of everything. Mahari region that was unfortunately, had faced many conflicts, political conflicts, and it's the same. You have many displaced people. You need to offer quick, relevant training programs for them to be able to be empowered, get access to livelihood, and also answer to the industry need locally, and especially the solar energy sector. So here, what is interesting is that our partner Assist has developed an online job place. We have 10 industrial partners, and students after the training program, they can find access to employment, which is very important. So we are trying to deliver all the right technical skills in the industry and also to bridge the gap with the industry. So these are the examples for today on my hand. And if you want to learn more about what we are doing, I can only encourage you to join our LinkedIn group that is called Youth Impact Through Learning. You can find more case studies, and I will be very happy to talk more about.
Thank you very much, Diane. You're just
Thank you.
on time. So thank you very much for bringing a wealth of experience working in different countries, in different contexts, all over the world. You have 60 countries you've mentioned, and that's quite large, very far-reaching footprint all over the world. And you have highlighted. Thank you very much for supporting young peoples in different parts of the world by providing opportunities for them for education and lifelong learning. But I think what's important is that you are able to reach to those who are marginalized, the refugees in Bangladesh, the conflict-affected children in Marawi. You have children in rural India, for example. So these are very remarkable work that you're doing. I think what's also important is that you are working with the communities. You go down to the schools, you go down to the communities, work with them, empower them so that they'll be able to take on the responsibility and accountability for whatever outcomes they are hoping for the young people and for the community in general. I think it's also important that you've highlighted gender element in what you're doing. I think this is a very important point in your presentation because we know that in the world we have a lot of women who are deprived of a lot of things, particularly in employment opportunities as well. This is very important, I think, in relation to ILO presentation earlier, where you have more and more children not being able to finish upper secondary, and therefore the demand for Tibet is just becoming bigger and bigger, and this is where the Schneider Electric Foundation would be playing a very important role. Thank you very much, Diane. We're down to our last speaker. Mr. Sumsak from Rayong Inclusive Learning Academy. Mr. Sumsak is a business owner based in Rayong with a deep passion for local education reform, believing it to be key to enhancing the city's livability. He is working also with a civil society, with the local government, and at the national level, he has been appointed to the Education Sandbox Committee under the Ministry of Education of Thailand. His presentation will focus more on how Rayong province, so this is more from the government side, was able to rally the local stakeholders toward a vision of co-creating a livable Rayong city as a model of human capital development that drives economic and social changes. Kun Sumsak, the floor is yours.
Good morning.
I would like to apologize on foreigner audience because I think you maybe just use in translator. Please let me speak Thai.
Okay, so good morning once again. I am Somsak Paniang Thong. So, as a matter of fact, I feel quite surprisingly strange to be sitting here because this panel is actually, a lot of you are working directly in the educational industry and also the and equality and equity, industry as well. But I am here as the representative from the industry sector. So by sitting here on this panel, I was invited, and I also believe that education is for everyone. And also, if you would like to change anything about education, everybody has to be involved. Not and also particularly the business persons and also entrepreneurs and business and industries as well. We have to be involved. I am going to share with you what I do in order to improve the education. So, by way of background, I would like to first introduce to you the Rayong province. Rayong is a province located in the eastern side of Thailand. And in this image, you can see that basically this summarizes what Rayong is. You can see on the top left, this is the petrochemical industry and factories. It is the most cutting edge industry in Rayong. And apart from the petrochemical, Rayong is also a hub for automotive industry as well. And Rayong has the highest GDP in the country. So, and also the income per capita is the highest in Thailand as well. Also, we have fruit fields, we have fruit plantation, and the product or the yield of our plantation is durian. Durian is the most popular fruit in Thailand and also all over the world as well. And Rayong is a hub of durian. And also we have revenue generated from the fishery industry as well. And Rayong is also a travel destination. We have beautiful beaches. We have Summit Island, which is one of the traveling destination, probably among the top 5 of Thailand. So with all these combined, everything is included in Rayong. And the change that happened over the last 30 years after the government had declared Rayong as the economic area. So with the change from a province that used to be a agricultural province or fishery province, or traveling province, we have to adjust and adapt very significantly in order for us to be also a province of factories industry, and it transforms the economy of the entire country. So you can see that these are the things that you can find in Rayong alone. And also with the industry, with the business coming in, also it comes education also plays a more important role in the province as well. We have to be able to keep up with the growth and also the economic prosperity in the area, and also we have to ensure that with the industry, the education is also supported. We have about 750,000 people in terms of population, and also we have the non-local people who are also working in Rayong as well. And by that reason, I am involved in the educational sector as well, because I am a local man and I notice the change that happened in the area. And how can we be more involved? How can we ensure that the changes that are being implemented in the area will also include our opinion? Because we're not notified by the government about the changes that are coming. But we also believe that education will change everything. Education will also make the city more livable. It will also drive the economy. And like all my previous speakers said, that education changes everything. So we need a plan in order to ensure that education will be included. Without the plan or any initiative from the government, we as a local community, we have to come up and make up the plan by ourselves. So how to ensure that we're overcoming the disparity in terms of revenue? With Rayong having the highest GDP in the country, we have about 1 million income per capita per year, but we know that the majority of the population has less than 100,000 in terms of income per year. So with this disparity, how can we ensure that education is inclusive? Also, we have environmental concerns. We have also other concerns as well. How can we solve all that in the area, right? So with that, we come up with a vision. We include everyone. We invite everyone, every relevant sectors to particularly the business sector, because we as businessmen, I see that to manage people you need a plan, to manage education you need a plan, you need money. Without a plan you cannot move forward, right? So I invite all sectors to be involved by leveraging my business bargaining power to include everyone and connect everyone with the government. We want to connect the local government, the central government, and also the local people, the community people. We include everyone and we listen to them in order to make a plan. What do you need to see in the change? We need the inclusive educational system where everybody is involved. And we want to be inclusive. We want to achieve equality, thoroughness, and also awareness as well. And we want to be a role model to drive the economy and social changes using education. And this is why we work with EEF, because we have the same goal. We want to create the equity, equality, awareness, and balance. So with that vision, with the plan, we also need the strategy about what the strategy that sets out what we have to do. So we want to have the education for everyone, starting from the primary level all the way to the working age. So we want to ensure that the education is managed in a sustainable way, and that is the end goal of our strategy. So with that, we have to see what we have. As a business person, we have to know what is the capital that we have, right? In order to move things forward, we have to know that what we have in the area. So we have the highest GDP, we have the most modern and industry and factories, and at the same time we have the local people, we have the farmers, we have the tour agency, we have the travel agencies and all that. Some of them do not accept the change. Some of them, they want to live like in the environment that they're used to. They want to continue with their agriculture. They want to continue with their fishery occupation. They do not care about the industry or factories. So with these discrepancies, we have to create a balance. I have to think about what do I have to do in order to ensure that every sector can live in a peaceful way and also move forward as well. So to start the educational development, or to start the conversation at least, we have to ensure that the plan is aware and known by everyone. And as I said that we want to include everybody in the plan making process. By that, I want everybody to picture how they want to see Rayong. And also I want to create a belief that education can actually change the way you live. Education can make the city more livable, as I said earlier. But when we make a plan at this level, one thing we have to consider is that there are two things you need to do in order to change the education. The first thing is that the formal education, and the second thing is the informal or non-formal education. So the formal education is the education in the system, in the existing educational system. So with that, we created the local curriculum. You have to understand that in Thailand we have the centralized curriculum from the central government or the Ministry of Education. And I think Rayong is one of the very rare provinces that we actually have our own curriculum, because we want to ensure that everything is contextualized. So, and that is one of the challenges that we face as well in order to have our local curriculum. So the problem with decentralization is that when you decentralize your power, the local people, how do you ensure that they receive enough education? If you decentralize power to them, how can you ensure that they are taking care of the education? But if you are not decentralizing the power of the education, how can you ensure that they are, receiving enough education, or the education that is fit with their context, because education will prepare you for your future lives, right? So in Thailand, it is a problem for all over the country. We may decentralize a lot of power for many other things, but not so much for education. And that is one thing that is a problem. Education is not enough. We may decentralize a lot of power for a lot of things, but education is somehow always overlooked by the government. So we need to ensure that this happens, that we are decentralizing our power and give that power to education. So we created this local curriculum that we think is best for Rayong. So we use the term Rayong Macro. Rayong Macro, M is for manpower, A is from ancestor, C is from city planning, and R is for resource, and O is for occupation. So when we talk about Rayong Macro, we have to talk also about city planning. So why is city planning important? Because city planning is required because we have agriculture, we have fishery, and we have industry. If we are not careful with the city planning, one day we can have an oil spill in the oil rig from the petrochemical industry, and then it will negatively affect the beaches, right? And the beaches is a travel destination, and it is the fishery resources. So how can we ensure that sustainable can happen with all these diversities in terms of, nature and environment? How can we address or be ready for these challenges that may happen? Also, along the way, the government is looking for the sandbox for the education. So it is an opportune moment for us as well, because we were able to be the pilot project for the educational sandbox. So once that we know that the power will be decentralized, we know that we have to establish the Rayong Inclusive Learning Academy, and we will have to use that academy to be the driving force behind the educational system of Rayong. So we have to handle and manage the body of knowledge and also the power that has been decentralized to you as well. And we want to show the central government that with the resources that we have, we are able to manage using this institute or using this academy. And with that driving force and with the sandbox, we also found other challenges where people are not seeing things the same way. People have their own picture of how they want to manage education. So we have to come up with a workshop so that everybody can set the same goal. We want to ensure that we are enforcing the same qualifications and also the same, we have the same vision, we have the same goal where we will develop our children, our students. It doesn't matter if you may take different occupation, but as long as the end goal is that we want everybody to be, to have the qualifications that they require. And with that, we have the plan, we have the academy, we have the local curriculum. We also need to include the stakeholders. And that is why I say that education is for everyone. We want to make this relevant. We want to ensure that everybody is involved. We want to make them know that they can play a role in the education system. And we have to identify who we have to work with. So as a private sector, we have the capability of connecting with the government, with the local, and also with the educational sector as well. The Ryla Institute or Ryla Academy is the connector to every other sectors. So with the establishment of the academy, where do we find the funds? So I can emphasize that in Thailand, the resources for education is sufficient, but we just lack the good management. So the funding for education for Thailand, it's a tremendous amount if we compare that, to the central budget. But the problem lies with the management of that funding, with that budget. So we have to understand, we have to ensure that everybody is seeing the same picture, everybody's seeing the same end goals, and we have to ensure that the budget is being used sufficiently. So we have to connect everyone all together, and we created this Ryla family. We want every sector to be involved. We provide them with a sense of a family. We want to ensure that everybody thinks that they're the same family and they're working towards the same end result. So by way of outcome, in order to ensure that the education can be driven forward as we want to. We have to believe in the decentralization. We have to believe in the spatial management. And as a business person, and as I am the person who is mainly involved in this, and also as the committee of the Education Sandbox, I am here to reflect that as a local man as well. I truly believe that the government has to trust the local people. The government has to trust that the local people can manage the education themselves. It may be very specific to Thailand context, but for us, as a local people, as a local person, we notice that there are differences. There are differences between one province to the next, between this local area and the next local area. And also we have to take care of the non-formal students as well. And we also see that as a challenge as well. So if you want to decentralize the educational power, you have to truly give the power to the local people, for them to manage how to be inclusive, because non-formal students, they're in the non-formal sector because they cannot be in the formal sector. So you have to be considerate about that as well, and you have to know who you have to work with, because the education system nowadays, it's not like 100 years ago. What the Pratham Foundation did in India, you don't need schools there, right? You don't need schools in order to provide education. You can provide homeschooling, you can do the daycare. And also the challenges that Ms. Diane has shared, also we face that as well, that you graduate from institutions, but you cannot find a job. It's because you are not understanding the local problem. So you have to create a belief. You have to ensure that everybody knows what the problem is. And also, you have to start somewhere. And when you believe and when you start somewhere, you have to also send the message to everyone as well. And the third thing, the most important thing, is that you have to be together. You have to connect people. And I want to emphasize once again that the problem is that we are lacking connection. We are lacking the sense of togetherness. And also, if we are combining the resources of our education, I'm not sure what I cannot say about the world, but for us in Thailand, we are lacking the sense of togetherness, and we are not giving it enough time for the local people to actually, see results. And also, if we give them time, if we give them trust, we will see results eventually. It's not decentralizing and then that's it. You have to also ensure that you have to believe, you have to begin, and you have to be together. So, believe, begin, be together. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Konsumsak, for that amazing presentation. Amazing because you've said a very powerful message. You've said something about decentralization, which is a very strong message, giving power to the local people to create their curriculum, to decide whatever is needed for the young people so that they can be equipped to be able to respond to their challenges that are really real and experienced within the community. You've also mentioned about how you are able to bring together your stakeholders through the social lab so that you can gather their insights, their input as you develop your plans, which is very critical because, again, you said that you need to have connections, right? You believe, you begin, but you need to also establish connections, which I think is something that's ongoing. It's not an end of the process, but in fact, part of the process, and it can be very difficult as well and very challenging. So thank you very much to our panelists. Very wonderful presentations, very insightful. And I think that our audience, both online and physically, they have learned a lot from the sharing of our panelists. At this point, we are opening our floor for some questions. We have questions online, but maybe as a moderator, I think I just grabbed the opportunity to ask a question for each of our panelists. I have prepared some questions. Actually, we have one from online, but maybe for Dayan, you have done a lot of projects in different countries. So how did you actually engage the local governments in the spirit of decentralization and local empowerment, right? Engage local governments and other local players in developing your projects. How did that engagement contribute to more tailored programs for the youth in the area, which is actually, a concern that Konsumsak raised in his presentation?
Yes.
Diane?
Thank you. And a very interesting presentation. I think we are fully aligned in the decentralization of education. So I guess for us, first we work in the energy sector, and everything we do is led by Schneider Electric locally and our local employees. I want to emphasize on this because obviously they are the one knowing the local reality and the market and the players also in their countries. So it really supports the action of the foundation to make sure it's global but mostly local. In terms of engaging with partners, it's true that depending on the country, we have very different model. As I showed, sometimes we work with international agencies that are investing, sometimes with NGOs, sometimes with the Ministry of Education. It really depends on the country where we operate and who we want to target. Because obviously, if we work in urban area, peri-urban or rural areas, we are not going to find the same range of stakeholders. So I would say most of the time, obviously, we are contacted for our expertise in the energy sector, but what we try to do is that depending on where we work, we are looking at how education is built, and for example, if we want to work in a remote area, most of the time NGOs play a crucial role to understand the local reality. So we are looking at NGOs that are specialized in the sector, and that can really, or sometimes that have their own training centers, and trying to partner with them to see is energy relevant and how can we adapt it together to make sure the programs are adapted. If we want to have a program at the national level and we want to renew a specific field, because education still remains the responsibility of the Ministry of Education, in that case, they are going to set standards, quality program. They are the one ensuring this. So we will speak directly with these governmental bodies to see what is the strategy, what are the important areas, which sector do you want to renew in energy, to try to see how we can have a national impact. So we are trying to build different type of partnership depending on the impact and also the population that we are targeting.
In other words, it's strategic, guided by policies and rules and procedures from the central government, but at the same time going down to the schools and really knowing what the context is and responding to the context and the needs.
And who are the players locally.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Maybe we can open the floor to questions from the... Okay, it seems I will raise the next question. Yes. Please approach the microphone.
Morning, I'm Visot from Aviation International, Cambodia. I have a question to, Pratham from Education Foundation. It's amazing talking about the mother, empowering mother, that we do need actually as mother. I have 3 questions. How many mother in the group? And how often the learning activity that they done to their group? And you said about the YouTube-based activity presentation. What is the program in the YouTube that the mother present or discuss in the group? And who made the program for them in order to see about the quality or the progress of the group activity? Thank you.
I understand 2 questions very well. The third one I will probably ask you again. So there are...
Sorry. The third is talking about, in the presentation, talking about YouTube-based presentation activity.
Yes.
And what is the program that they use to train or learning activity to the group? And who designed the program for them?
Excellent. Excellent. So there are 4 to 5 mothers in a group. They live... Not more. They are staying up. If somebody And that's what we have seen. It's never more than that. It's never 8 or 10. It's 4, 5, 6 at the most. And may I ask you to repeat the second one? Sorry. Yes, they meet definitely once a week. They definitely meet once a week where they stay, but whatever the lead mother or the lady, the mother with the smartphone, she shares it through, if I have a smartphone, Android phone, and the rest of them have then I will send it to them, or I will go and show it to them. But that doesn't have to be a group meeting, and that can be. The third one you say, yes, you want to say something first? The third one is about the YouTube content is very, very simple material. It could be classification of things. So it could be tomatoes, onions, potatoes, green chili, red chili, but they are all put together. But saying it and showing somebody doing it on the YouTube immediately clicks, and then the mother can do it. It is like counting. So counting what? It could be vegetables, it could be counting the spoons in the house, it could be so many things that the mother can use. So they are very simple things. It is creating beauty. Suppose a festival is coming, so you make something with flowers. So normally mothers say, oh, I'm not good at it, I won't be. But the idea given is so simple that she does it, the neighboring, so suddenly all around you, you see, generally are mood lifters, they're happy, they've created something. So there's a group of people at Pratham who are creating, and as everybody is saying, it is highly contextualized. So it could be made that, okay, in this state something else is needed, so they modify it accordingly. If it is common to all, they just translate the video. If it is not common to all, then they make it contextual for the state as well. But there's a group of people, there's a group of translators, and how is this seen? So there's a Pratham person who is in charge of maybe 5 villages. So maybe there are 25 mother groups or 30 mother groups. So that person spends at least 1 day per week in that village and meets all the mothers. Once a month there's a mother's workshop. So, where you have to stay slightly longer than 1 hour, and some things are shared. How do you tell a story? What is important? Suppose there's second grade 2 children, if something has to be, tips have to be given to them, then those kind of things are held on that day, through that day that the Pratham person is in the village. So that, and then there is a sample-based assessment, because there's so many children. So they do a sample-based assessment, it is called SBA, where we can track the difference it is making to the child, if I am able to answer your question.
Thank you. Before we go to Margaret, I think we need to entertain one online question at this point. For Kun Sumsak, in decision-making processes that you're doing involving so many stakeholders, and you mentioned about connecting, beginning to collaborate with a lot of stakeholders, how do you manage different views so that decisions on plans and strategies can be embraced by everyone in the room? What's your strategy?
อันนี้สำคัญที่สุดครับ
I think that is probably the most important thing. Like after you're trying to get the buy-in from all these stakeholders, right? So that how can we actually connect everyone, making sure that everyone is on the same page? And that is something that we are trying to do between the central government and the local entities. So we would come up with, process to try to eliminate differences. I think trying to make sure that everyone sees the same picture. And then we still have many steps to achieve that. We need to come up with a shared plan. That's the most important thing. Making sure that everybody share the same table, coming up with a plan together. And then that's how we come up with the education strategy for the Rayong province, right? That's the first time the country has ever done something like this. The second thing is the curriculum. We have to come up with a local curriculum. If we chat, the same table, come up with the curriculum together. Once we have that shared curriculum, we set the goals, that, okay, what are the aspired outcomes that we want to achieve? We collect everybody's points of views, trying to make sure everyone is on the same page. And then after we build that trust, we also try to get their buy-in by showing them that we collaborate with World Bank, for example, and World Bank is the organization that collects all this data and surveys, and so we can do the evidence-based approach to show the local entities that what we are doing is not just something that we are doing at the local level. This is something we learn from the global surveys, global reports, and global data. And another thing is we also try to come up with, the curriculum that produce active learners. Say, for example, they want to be someone who have the digital literacy, who have language capacity, and also are technology savvy. And we also try to make sure that we create a global citizens. They understand what's happening at the local level, yes, but they are also contributing to the world as global citizens as well. And this is something that we are trying to do. Once everything is done in a collective and collaborative manner, then we know that we have a shared responsibility towards achieving these goals together.
For the answer. Margaret, we have very, maybe we can do some overtime here, no? Okay. Okay, Margaret, because it says 0, but...
Yeah, thank you very much. This is it's not very, no, it's okay, I got it. All right, well, thank you for the 3 presentations, which I all found extremely inspiring. I also wanted to ask Kun Somsak, and you mentioned a little bit about this in your last answer. I'm intrigued by the curriculum, because you said you are customizing the curriculum. Just now you spoke about creating a local curriculum. So it would be interesting to know how you do this in collaboration with the Ministry of Education that provides a national curriculum, a core curriculum. Probably there are certain things that cannot be altered. So what is it that you can actually customize? How do you do that in collaboration with the Ministry of Education so that the core curriculum remains somehow, and at the same time you have something that responds to the local needs of Rayong and of all the things you mentioned? So that's my first question. A second question to Diane. Thank you again for these really interesting projects and programs that you mentioned in all the different countries. Again, how do you link these interventions, which are all very important, to what is foreseen in the plan of the Ministry of Education or Labor of the country? So they're not sort of one-off or individual activities, but they support what is done nationally in a country to support labor development and training. So 2 questions, if that's still possible. Thank you.
Okay, so 2 questions, I think. Thank you. I'm very sorry we don't have time anymore. Okay, we begin with Kun Somsak.
Good. Linda.
So first of all, the local curriculum. So for the local curriculum, I have to set the scene here that for Thailand, the government has been trying to do this decentralization for many years now. And at the local level, we also have the education committee as well, working at the provincial level. We have the provincial governor sitting as the chairperson. And we experimented a number of times by setting the threshold in terms of what would be the unchangeable things based on the central curriculum. But the problem is that people are not sure if they have enough knowledge in order to do or not do something with the central curriculum. Because in the past, every body of knowledge, the huge body of knowledge, is centralized, right? Now that you are decentralizing it, the problem or the question is that who is going to do the local curriculum? Who is going to start creating the local curriculum? And if you are going to do it, would you be sufficient? Would your knowledge be sufficient? The mechanisms that that lies within the governor of the province. The governor comes from the central government, he or she is promoted by the central government. If you are lucky and you actually have the governor who is interested in education, you will be lucky. But if you have the governor who doesn't really care about education or doesn't prioritize education, then that will be your bad luck. I think the most challenging factor here is that people are scared. People do not dare to actually stand up and do something because they think that they do not know enough. They do not have enough knowledge. So we have to encourage people. We have to let people know that body of knowledge doesn't depend on the educational level that you receive from school. You actually have the local knowledge or the local wisdom that can be included in the local curriculum. And that's even more important because our province is different from other provinces. If you cannot equip your students with the local wisdom, then your students will not be able to, continue with the way of life that they want to. In Rayong, our students, when I say local, I mean like it's very local. It's something that is very specific to the area. As I said, that we have to create this balance between the industry sector, the agricultural sector, and fishery sector. So it's very unique in its own way. So you have to encourage people and ensure that people feel confident that we have enough knowledge to actually make a change, to actually create this local curriculum, and most importantly, this is the reason why we have to establish RILA, the Rayong Inclusive Learning Academy, so that we can create this as a resource. And since we cannot work alone, we have to connect with the central government as well. If we want to check if our curriculum is appropriate, we can run checks with the central government, right? Because if we want to set the target or set the goal in Rayong, we have to ask ourselves as well if the mindset of our young people is aligning with the global mindset or global qualifications. So we have to cross-check with the trend, cross-check with the goal of the central government as well. And when we did that, we have to encourage our own people and make sure that people know that they have enough capacity to actually create that local curriculum. Something that we're missing, something that we're lacking, we can always request from stakeholders, from central governments and all that. All of us, we work in the educational sector, we know that we have to find the answer in terms of what people want. So at the local level, we have the Sandbox Act. The Sandbox Act that is decentralizing the education to the local area. And in the Sandbox Act, it says that you now have the power as the local government. You can exercise that power as you please. So when we have that, we have to also think about, will that be accepted by the people? Will we receive the buy-in, for example? And also, if we find that the local people doesn't think that what they know is sufficient, the decentralization will be a failure because people will not be confident and people will just let's go back to decentralization. So we have to be involved. We have to strengthen ourselves. We have to ensure that people know that they're good enough, because otherwise, no matter how hard you are trying to decentralize, it will be centralized.
Like looking for the right balance, but it seems the balance in this case is more towards providing more space for the local people to really determine and decide what's best for them in the case of Rayong. So we go to the next question.
Very quickly, I guess. Thank you for your question. So I think to be very quick, first, as I said, we support two types of programs: long-term, 2-3 years, that are diploma, national diploma, and short-term certificate. It's true that this question depends a lot on the geography, because, for example, when we do public and private partnership on diploma, we work directly with the Ministry of Education on the diploma, on renewing, adapting, integrating new competencies. When we work on certificate, there are certain countries where government are also very strong on certificate. For example, I gave you the example of Senai in Brazil with the boats in Amazonia. Senai is the governmental body that is looking after technical and vocational education. and they are also approving on short-term certificate in parallel of their diploma, because they know diploma will not address. So sometimes we work also with the Ministry of Education on really developing this adapted local training content, and sometimes we work with partners like NGOs. I have the case in Lebanon, for example, on developing a shorter term program, and then they work with the Ministry of Education on integrating these new competencies on the national curricula. So it can really go both ways, depending on the context, on the country. At the end of the day, I guess for us, what we want to ensure is that technical competency, industry exposure is there for students and linked to the access to the job market, because we know what are the industrial looking at. We have a wide range of partners as well that can provide employability. So what we want to ensure is both, but we want to be agile and work with the right stakeholder, but obviously respecting what is the strategy in the country and what is the Ministry of Education deploying in terms of competencies and where are the priority. I hope it answers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, this topic on decentralization is obviously taking more interest than we expected. There are a lot of questions online actually, and even here, but unfortunately, this is really over the time. So just to highlight, I think what we discussed were more on talking about empowering our local communities, but making sure that we make that connection so that they'll be able to own it. In the case, for example, of Rayong, they're really owning it. The mothers themselves are owning the program and so on. But at the end of the day, it's really about empowering the local communities to take on the responsibility, accountability, and deciding on what is best for them. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are facing the situation day to day. Okay. As we end this session, I would like to thank our panelists for their insightful contributions to this discussion, as well as the engaged audience. I'm very sorry we cannot. If you have questions after this, maybe you can engage our panelists and maybe continue on discussing these things on decentralization and all this. So thank you very much. This has been a very productive session. It's my pleasure to be your moderator for this session. Thank you so much. Okay. As the MC, I now declare a photo session.